A super typhoon has made landfall in the Philippines. Known as Fung Wong, the typhoon crossed the coastline in the country's north at 9:10 in the evening local time.
On November 9th, 2025, the Philippines experienced one of the largest typhoons in history, and scientists are terrified at what they found. Known to scientists as Fung Wong and to locals as Uwan, it slammed into Aurora province on Luzon Sunday night, with sustained winds of around 185 kilometers per hour and gusts of 230 kilometers per hour. Though the winds weren't record-breaking, the typhoon's sudden intensity shocked experts. It wasn't unusual for Filipinos to experience typhoons. In fact, this country faces almost 20 to 25 typhoons in a year. But Typhoon Fong Wong is something they have never seen. Experienced scientists are also shocked by the width of this typhoon and the number of disasters it causes in the Philippines. That's why, on November 9th, after the initial effects of the typhoon, the International Federation of Red Crescent and Red Cross Societies asked for help from the world. These natural disasters are not routine, and the Philippines is not ready to tackle them. By now, the Philippines is under level 5. This signal means that immense destruction is on its way. A massive typhoon covering 2/3 of this country hit them on Sunday. Before its landfall, rescue teams evacuated more than 1.4 million people. This beast made landfall in Aurora province and instantly claimed 2 lives. It triggered floods and landslides that ruined houses, agriculture, and the lives of people. The storm cut power in entire provinces. Luzon experienced more than 200 millimeters of rainfall by the time Typhoon Fong Wong passed the Philippines. This super typhoon is now moving toward Taiwan after leaving at least 18 people dead, 1.4 million people displaced, 132 northern villages flooded, and 4,100 houses damaged in the Philippines.
Maybe in terms of its size, the biggest, and it's carrying huge quantities of rain, and that's what's really worrying the authorities here. For the moment, people are sheltering in any solid buildings they can find.
This massive destruction devastated scientists, but they become scared when mountain ranges and agricultural lands fail to weaken or end this typhoon. Satellite imagery shows a perfect eye wall structure in the typhoon that sustains itself even after hitting the mountain terrain. Now, with almost the same force, it is going to hit Taiwan, where officers have evacuated almost 3,000 people. This typhoon leaves scientists wondering if Fong Wong is an unusually large typhoon or we are experiencing a new class of superstorm.
This is the view of the typhoon from space, giving you an idea of its scale.
Just days before this typhoon, the Philippines experienced another superstorm. 2 superstorms in 1 week leave authorities and scientists shocked. They are always ready for typhoons to hit the Philippines. They used sensors, satellite imagery, radars, and weather stations to track super typhoons as they form. Over the warm Pacific waters, meteorologists keep a keen eye on a web of sensors and cross-checks to keep the country a step ahead of disaster. PAGASA, the National Weather Service, has strict protocols. They compare their satellite images with radars and sensor readings. They do it to be 100% sure of when a natural disaster is going to hit the Philippines and what its magnitude will be. Their strategy was tested days before Fong Wong hit the Philippines. Typhoon Kalmagi hits Luzon early in the week and leaves massive destruction behind. It knocked down various satellite stations and killed at least 224 people. Tens of thousands of people were forced to leave their houses. Rescue teams were still looking for 100 missing people. Scientists were recovering from this storm when their radars showed that another superstorm was going to hit them. The Philippines Meteorological Service warned people that a life-threatening typhoon is coming their way. It would be very intense, so they should be ready for it. But the timing and scale of this typhoon were unclear to scientists. While they were recovering from the previous storm and trying to figure out the severity of this one, the Philippines experienced its disasters early in the afternoon on Sunday. A video surfaced on social media telling the public that a typhoon had landed.
This suspension bridge being thrown around in the wind in the town of Camaglagan is being shared on social media.
Winds have already started tearing off the roofs of houses. Debris was flying in the area, hurting different people. The mayor instantly ordered rescue teams to evacuate the area. Officials knocked on different doors, asking people to leave their houses in an instant. In Cabanatuan, winds were picking up, and rainfall was getting dangerous. People knew that their houses were not going to survive this disaster. So they rushed into their homes, not giving any importance to rescue teams' protests, and pulled out their furniture and pets. But in the end, they have to leave everything behind. This superstorm destroyed their belongings and house. 2 men ran back for their belongings only to be drowned and buried under their house's roof. This superstorm claimed their lives. While rescue teams were busy keeping people alive, scientists were looking at the approaching typhoon. Their satellite imagery suggested that a storm diameter of almost 1,500 kilometers is approaching Pegasus Doppler radar's track bands that seem to reach from the Pacific coastline all the way to the western plains. At one point, scientists were scared that it would consume the whole country at once, leaving them crippled. The wind speed was fitting the profile of a super typhoon. This level of destruction through wind was expected, but the magnitude, heavy rainfall, and one super typhoon stacking on another destructive superstorm is really alarming for weather forecasters and meteorologists. They triggered warnings across an area almost the size of Western Europe. Other areas also received minor level warnings. Rescue teams were doing a successful job, but there was a problem. Geologists' maps were outdated, the storm had cut them off from the online world, and a lot of their satellite images were blurry. They had to wait for the storm to pass before assessing the real damage on the ground. They couldn't tell the exact severity of the superstorm. After the catastrophic Sunday and Monday, the Philippines was at peace on Tuesday. But scientists were anxious. They had to find out the grim details of the destruction and had to update their knowledge for this new type of super typhoon. This typhoon created a powerful wind fetch across the Philippine Sea, forcing water to rise from its eastern coast. In Quezon and Bicol, seawater entered low-lying barangays and ports. Its waves rose 10 to 16 feet high. The surrounding area was entirely flooded due to the rising sea. The tropical rain from above was also not helping. People were helpless, praying that this nightmare would soon end. It was so destructive that eastern Visayas also faced sea rise and tidal waves flooding. This was shocking for scientists because the center of the typhoon never passed through this area, but it was still in need of rescue operations. This proved that the typhoon's massive power extended across hundreds of kilometers. Even when the eye of the storm passed, the after effects were equally destructive. The sea kept rising, destroying anyone who came in its way. This told scientists that their existing models, data, and knowledge are not enough. The destruction and power of this typhoon were way more than they predicted. In fact, it was so much that their radars went blank for the whole day, leaving them guessing what was happening on the ground. At last, once everything was restored and they conducted their research, they found some horrific details. Atmospheric moisture was way more than it should be. These water vapors in the atmosphere were the ally of the Fung Wong typhoon. At the same time, vertical wind shear remained unusually weak. It is the enemy of the typhoon, but it was unable to resist the typhoon. Scientists didn't need to dig through the research articles to know the reasons for these problems. Everyone knows that drastic climate changes and ocean warming are the 2 main reasons behind this disastrous typhoon. Over the years, scientists in the Philippines have been requesting other countries to monitor their fossil fuel emissions. It is unfair that the Philippines is suffering because other countries can't control their fossil fuel emissions. The public and scientists are so angry that they are demanding that countries that are most responsible for climate change pay for their reconstruction. The main reason for their anger is Dr. Ronald Villarin's words. This atmospheric scientist has clearly mentioned that it is not just a one-off event. We are all entering into a new era of cyclones. We have already damaged the climate beyond repair. So these levels of superstorms and cyclones are now a part of our lives. To address this new disaster, representatives of governments around the world are gathering in the Brazilian city of Belém for the 30th Annual United Nations Climate Change Conference this week. They will try to make new rules and science around these new superstorms. But the question remained, are we ready for this new era, and what is the guarantee that nothing more disastrous is waiting for us?